It's time for Talking Microsoft. This is episode number 2. Now, it's been a while since I recorded the last episode, and I've got a lot of positive feedback about this show. So there are some things that I've changed a little bit, but all in all, the purpose of this show is to talk about all things Windows and the Microsoft ecosystem, including its OEM partners out there and their products and what's going on. So without further ado, let's get started on this week's episode of Talking Microsoft. So the first story that I'm going to cover with you is this. And if you have Apple QuickTime installed on your machine, you need to be getting it off of there. Now, this is according to Trend Micro, who has found critical vulnerabilities, 2 of them, in QuickTime. I'm not sure that many people use QuickTime anymore. There's certain apps, I guess, if you install them, require QuickTime. Somebody said that After Effects is one of them. Probably some other video applications as well requires QuickTime. I use VLC, and I think a lot of people use VLC. But if you have it and you don't need it, get rid of it. Apple hasn't supported it with security updates in quite a while. There's no need to have it on your system. There's a lot of other alternatives to QuickTime. So get it out there. Thought I would share that with you. I'm sure many of you that's watching the show already know this, but if not, if you have QuickTime, get it off your system. So just thought I would share that with you. Now, this story is, I think, very, very interesting because this follows up on what's going on with Apple and the federal government and now Microsoft. Here's the thing. Microsoft wants to notify you when the government asks to access your email or any documents stored in the cloud. And they're basically using some very arcane rules to issue a gag order to Microsoft, telling them that they can't notify you that. And that's based on a 30-year-old law that has not kept up with the time. Now, the original premise of the Constitution, one of the articles of the Constitution, protects you and your property against unreasonable searches and seizure. And Microsoft is basically going to court, and they're saying that these gag orders and these requests for your information, your email, your documents in the cloud, goes against the Constitution. And I am personally glad to see that this is happening. There has been over 1,752 secrecy orders telling Microsoft that they can't notify you of these things. It says Microsoft's reported received more than 2,500 government requests for data in just the last 18 months. Last year, Reuters reported that Microsoft had not alerted customers, including leaders of China's Tibetan and, not how you pronounce this, but other minorities, that their email was compromised by hackers operating from China. And they said they would publicly adopt a policy telling customers when it believed their email had been hacked by a government. Yes, becoming routine for the U.S. government to issue an order that requires email providers to keep these type of legal demands secret. So there you have it. The U.S. government, clearly the Constitution of the United States, means nothing to the U.S. government, and enabling it to use its powers of secrecy, to enable it to use its powers to perform unreasonable searches of your information, search and seizure of your property, because your documents, your emails, is your property. Microsoft is leading the way with this lawsuit to put an end to these gag orders as secrecy. They want to notify you when the U.S. government is trying to access your data. And I say absolutely more power to Microsoft, more power to Apple, more power to those who stand up to this form of government tyranny, accessing and using your data without your knowledge, without your consent. It is an unreasonable search and seizure, which is protected by the Constitution. And the U.S. government either abides by the Constitution or it does not. And I say more power to Microsoft on this particular matter. Okay. This is something I just couldn't believe when I first seen it. I want to share it with you right now. Windows XP still powers 181 million PCs 2 years after support. Now, in all fairness, the percent here in the U.S. is under 3%. But just the other day I got a call from a client who he's not a client, but a consultant who is doing a upgrade of some servers and some stuff like that, and told me that his customer is still using machines running XP. He couldn't get over it. But regardless of that fact, approximately 12% of all Windows-powered PCs out there are running Windows XP. I remember, of course, the first time I seen XP, I thought it looked like Fisher-Price threw up all over the interface on this thing. But you grew to love it because of its stability. I happen to have really loved Windows 2000. You remember that one? That was an awesome OS. But XP proved to be rock stable, and it's not going away anytime soon. Now, who's the big holdout on this? No surprise, in my opinion, China. China is definitely the holdout on XP. About a third, I'm going to just bring this up here. I just seen this in here. Roughly China, about a third of all the PCs. Oh, here we go, right here. The People's Republic of China, XP account for 26.2% of all personal computer operating systems as measured by the Irish analytics company's stat counter. And because what's the alternative for these folks, right? There's no direct path between XP and Windows 10. So you've got to, upgrade to Windows 7 and then you go to 10. But more likely for most folks, it would be getting rid of that machine and getting one with Windows 10 pre-installed. And that's just not really going to happen in mainland China anytime soon. 2 years after Windows 10, 2 years after Microsoft has ended support for Windows XP. This thing's still around. People are still using it, even though it's unpatched operating system. Very, very dangerous to have it on your systems, but that's an eye-popping number, folks. 181 million PCs. That is an eye-popping number of machines still running. An operating system's been around for 15 years? Going on 15 years? Was it 2001 when XP was launched? How is Microsoft monetizing Windows 10? Well, a lot of people kind of scratching their head wondering, how are they making money on it since they're giving it away? Well, the biggest way that they're making money off of it, of course, is number one, their OEMs. So that's any company that sells you a new laptop, a new PC, many different Windows devices. They still pay Microsoft a licensing fee for Windows 10. So that is one of the ways that they're making money. And I think that is how they have mostly made their money over the years, is through their OEM partners. Relatively speaking, few people actually purchase upgrades of a PC, or rather of the operating system, relatively few. And then on top of that, then you would have system builders and that kind of thing buying licenses, but mainly is where the OEMs come into play. Now, what about the free upgrades? Well, it's not free if you're a Microsoft Enterprise customer, okay? If you're a Microsoft Enterprise customer, then you have to buy the Enterprise licenses of Windows 10. So they're still making money off of their OEMs and Enterprise big customers, where the bulk of the revenue for Windows has come from for many years anyway. What is newish, let's put it that way, is the apps. Now they're looking to make money on the back end of things. By the way, Microsoft makes 30% margins on the apps that it sells on the Microsoft Store. Unfortunately, not a lot of visitors to the Microsoft App Store. They kind of screwed it all up, and it was somewhat of a wasteland of mostly useless applications. It's getting better, and Microsoft's getting more aggressive in promoting the store. As you notice in your start menu now, you see suggested applications, and Microsoft's trying to make their 30% cut on that, and they're working, I think, pretty diligently on trying to get more and more decent software to work on their platform, the Windows Store. They're trying to get more and more big name titles on there. I think that they will be successful with this in the future. And finally, services. Microsoft is definitely making a lot of money right now, and their flagship services is Office 365, and they sell a lot of subscriptions to Office 365, folks. They sell a ton of them. Now, Microsoft says that Windows 10 is the last major version of the operating system. And right now they're going to give it away for free for people that have existing devices. And you know what? That is over in July, but I think it's not going to go anywhere. I think that you'll be able to continue to upgrade existing devices for free indefinitely. I don't think they're going to end that. I mean, their goal is to have Windows 10 on, like 1 billion devices within a 2-year period of time. That includes installs and IoT things, that's Internet of Things, Xbox One, phones, tablets, as well as PCs, laptops, Ultrabooks, etc. And so I don't see them actually charging end users directly for upgrades as long as you got an existing device that has, Windows 8.1 or something like that pre-installed coming down the road. Now, somebody in the comments, I thought this was pretty good, says, not to mention the 53 data harvesting components that get installed by default. Are you stupid enough to select Express and install when upgrading? The amount of data being sent to MS is staggering. I love that. I love that's for a different episode of the show. On my other YouTube, or not my other YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, one of the things I hear quite frequently is people actually consider moving to Mac because they feel that Windows 10 has been too pushy, or Microsoft's been too pushy in pushing Windows 10 on people. And they really resent that. And I mean, there's tools out there to stop the automatic downloads, installs, and remove Windows 10 files, installation files out there. These folks have a legitimate beef. They have a very legitimate beef about how overly aggressive Microsoft has become with Windows 10. And hopefully, Microsoft will see fit to kind of knock some of this nonsense off in the future. All right, Microsoft enables web-based Skype calling on the Microsoft Edge web browser. I don't use Edge, I'll be honest with you. And maybe it's not fair. I've not really given it a decent shake. I'm a big-time Chrome user. That is my browser of choice, and I like how well it integrates with the whole Google Apps ecosystem, because I'm a Google Apps customer. Although I plan on moving my company over to Office 365 somewhere in the near future, probably at the end of summer, we'll be moving off of Google onto Office 365. Nonetheless, I think this is a big deal because there's no plugin needed in order to use Skype through your browser on Microsoft Edge. And this extension to the Edge browser will be supported in the Windows 10 anniversary update this summer. Again, but you won't need the extension to use Skype free voice, video, a group calling video in the browser. Instead, you can preview this functionality via the early release of Skype video calling on Microsoft Edge. Here's the thing, though. I'm not really a big Skype fan. Personally, I think it kind of sucks, but there's not been, in my opinion, a really viable alternative to it. Yeah, there's Google Voice, Google Hangouts and all that, but part of it is probably the easy use for the people that work for me. They're very used to using Skype to chat with each other, make video calls, that kind of thing, and moving them away from Skype has just been an exercise in futility. But I personally can't really stand Skype, and I can't figure out for the life of me how to keep all these people trying to send me contact requests. Do you have problems with Skype? Do you like Skype? Do you use Skype? If so, I'd like to hear from you in the comments on the show. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth coming down the road. All right. Right when hell freezes over. Okay, so essentially Microsoft's going to provide an application that will allow you to run the Bash shell. And I should actually back up here a second. Let's go to this story first. We're going to talk about the Bash shell. I'll put the link to this in the description of the show notes down here. Essentially, Bash is coming to Windows. Bash, I believe, stands for Born Again Shell, which is being in conjunction with Canonical, that makes Ubuntu, with Microsoft. They developed this set of command line tools. You download and install this Bash application, And think of it as kind of like wine running in reverse. If you're familiar with wine in the Linux world, it's kind of like the wine running in reverse. Now you have essentially Linux running natively on a Windows platform, and a Windows subsystem, I should say. And this is a big, big deal because Microsoft is obviously acknowledging the power of getting people to develop, or Linux developers to be using Windows machines and still feel very, very comfortable. Now, this is strictly going to be a command line version of Linux, so keep that in mind. But it's no big stretch of imagination to say that somebody will figure out how to eventually run graphical Linux applications in this environment. As a matter of fact, ta-da, already done. Didn't take long, did it, folks? But basically, you have to install Xserver in this system, and then you can then start to launch applications in the shell. And they actually got Firefox to run graphically in the Linux shell with the Xserver on here, which is, as I understand, a form of a Windows display type of driver. And and then they got it, and they got it up and running. But as I said, it was a bit unstable, but look for things to improve somewhere down the road. It's not exactly as speedy as possible. I think this, though, is amazing because you don't have the overhead of a virtual machine or any of this stuff. So I hope to see big, big things come in this direction. I'm glad to see that Bash will be available for Windows. I'm glad, and I hope to see the ability to run some Linux applications run more natively on Windows 10 rather than installing a virtual machine and doing all that stuff. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it really, really would be amazing. These guys are getting some heavy-duty competition, but done right. To me personally, the Apple MacBook is nothing more than a fashion accessory. Okay, if you're into Gucci handbags or whatever, this is the machine. Totally useless to me. I know there's going to be somebody go, oh, but Bruce, there's really light and they're super thin, and I can even edit 4K video on one of these things. Okay, for the rest of us in the real world that's not under the Apple ether, but we like something like that, this is amazing looking machine. This is the LG Gram 15.6-inch Full HD laptop. Thin, exceedingly thin. In fact, I believe it might even be thinner than the MacBook. Weighs about the same pound. This is a 15.6-inch laptop that weighs just about as much as the MacBook, as just a fraction heavier. But it offers so much more for the money. Look at this thing, 2.2 pounds. Comes with a 1080p display, made out of magnesium alloy. But here's the showstopper on this thing. Unlike the MacBook, which only comes with a Core M processor, this thing comes with the new Intel Core i5 or dual, and the i5 is a dual core, or the dual core i7, the 6500U. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, that's what it comes with. With the reader mode, sort of like maybe the new iPad Pro has. Beautiful. Instant boot, open the lid, bang. You are computing right then and there. By the way, $14.99, which if we go to the MacBook Pro, the MacBook, $15.99, 12-inch. So you're getting a lot bigger display, which I happen to like the 15.6-inch form factor. I wish that Apple didn't do away with the 17-inch MacBook Pro, but they did, so be it. Processors, 1.1 gigahertz, 1.2 gigahertz in their $15.99 machine. And this LG, let's get down here. Yes, Core i7 6500U. This is a $14.99 model. They actually got cheaper models of this. 2.5 gigahertz, turbos up to 3.1. Now, you probably will get a bit better battery life with the MacBook, but so what? Look at how much more power you're getting. 8 gigabytes of RAM on this thing. 512 gig SSD. It is a SATA 3, so it's not going to be as fast as necessarily the SSD built into the MacBook, which is the flash-based storage. Regardless, it's still going to be smoking fast. IPS display, lower resolution in the MacBook, but still perfectly acceptable. Intel HD 520 graphics, and of course it comes with a 720p webcams. By the way, just a bit of a rant on webcams. I, for one, could use a better quality webcam because that's what I'm using right now to produce this show. Now, in theory, I could hook up, I think, my Sony AX53 and then use a video capture device and get better quality video, but I would really like to have a little bit better quality webcam. But the thing is, I think it's probably a matter of, simple economics. I think there's a lot of people not really willing to pay for a really, really super nice webcam. Apparently not. I guess most people are pretty happy with the 720p webcams. And pretty much I think the Logitech C920, for the most part, is about as good as it gets. I just wish there was another option available that was, somewhat affordable. But at any rate, I digress. Let's get back to this machine. Of course, it comes with dual band wireless. That's AC. And then comes with, guess this, LAN 100 megabits per second, USB-C port with RJ45 gender, Bluetooth 4.0. Special features, 21:9 curved display. Yes, special feature. But here's, I think, another area this thing really shines. Unlike this guy, with this one USB-C port, look at what ports that come with the LG 15-inch or with the Gram. Get an HDMI port, one USB 3 Type-C, two USB 3, one USB 2.0, one micro SD card slot, headphone out, RJ45 Ethernet with the C port, RJ45 gender, DC power in. This is a workable laptop for somebody who really likes the look of the MacBook, but they want something thin, very light, very much more powerful. And get this, for same or less money than the MacBook. Apple really needs to get its act together. This is just a total bullshit product. This computer, in my opinion, is nothing more than, hey, I got too much money and I want a cool looking fashion accessory. This, my friends, this is a much better alternative. Spend your money on this. Windows 10 is a fantastic operating system. There's not a thing on the Mac that you can do that you can't do on Windows 10. In fact, I would argue just the opposite. Much better world to be in. And yet this is a very good looking laptop. Of course, there's other good looking laptops out there. I just happen to really find this a sweet, sweet machine. Moving on. Just thought we'd start winding things down. Graphic card deal right now, if you are in a market for a new GPU, which yours truly will be shortly. Currently, you can get the MSI GTX 970 at Newegg for $279.99 and includes a free copy of Tom Clancy's The Division. So that is actually a really excellent deal. Or if you're Team Red, right now you can pick up the Gigabyte G1 Gaming R9 390 for $309.99 at Amazon. And of course, the price of the mighty GTX 750 Ti is still dropping, and with the manufacturer's rebate, you can pick one of these up for $85. So there's a couple good deals for you if you're looking for a new graphics card. The thing is, I can't decide. Maybe you can help me with this. I'm on the fence, and I know that there's a new generation of GPUs about to be launched by Team Green. I'm really trying to decide whether I should switch over to Team Green from Team Red. Now I use, for video editing right now on my PC, I'm using Vegas, which, by the way, hasn't supported the newer generations of GPUs in a long time. The rumor is that, by the way, Sony Vegas is done. It's finished. There's not going to be a Vegas 14. It's kind of in a maintenance mode. There hasn't been any, I think, updates done to it since summer of last year, maybe. We'll find out more at NAB, which is starting tomorrow. Another rumor says, yeah, there is going to be a version 14, but they had to delay due to some reason. We'll find out. But the other thing is, Vegas seems to support for OpenCL a whole lot better than CUDA, by the way. But if there's not, I guess eventually I'm going to have to bite the bullet and then go ahead and get Premiere. I don't want rentalware. I love Final Cut Pro 10, but I just don't know about how much longer I'm going to stick around with owning Apple products. I'm just getting kind of burnt out on how little you get from the money this day and age. But I do like Final Cut Pro 10. But I also like being able to edit videos on my PC as well. I'm probably ranting here about that, but I'm wondering, $390. What do you think? Right now today, if you had to buy, would you go with the Team Green? Let's say the 970, which I think is a really, really good value for what you get with it, performance-wise. Or should I go Team Red with the R9 390? Let me know in the comments down below. And we're going to wrap this up with one more item, which is that Acer now has the liquid M30, the M330 Windows Mobile phone. This is for $100. This is a $100 smartphone running Windows. This makes it extremely affordable in an entry-level phone. You don't get a lot, though. I mean, and you shouldn't expect much for $100, right? But it does come with a 1 gigahertz quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 210, gigabyte of memory, 8 gigs of storage, or up to 128 with a micro SD expansion slot, a 5-inch IPS LCD capacitive touchscreen. The resolution leaves a lot to be desired, 854 by 480. It's not even HD. But if you're not, going to use it for reading and that kind of thing, it still might be fine for video, watching a little bit of video, that sort of thing. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, DTS audio, and connectivity 4G LTE Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 2.0 GPS, 2000 milliamp battery. Acer rates the battery up to 15 hours of talk time and 230 hours on a single charge as standby time. Perfect entry phone. Do you think? For $100, do you think you'd go wrong with this? I happen to like Windows Phone. I really do. Matter of fact, I'm looking for a second smartphone for myself. And so that is this copy or this edition of Talking Microsoft. I hope to be doing more of these at least once a month, maybe even more often. People seem to enjoy it, and I definitely appreciate your feedback. So until the next one, everybody, take care. Thanks for stopping by and watching Talking Microsoft.